corporations talk frequently about how difficult it is to design and produce games. Walk into any San Francisco bar during the annual Game Developers Conference, GDC, and you're bound to find groups of weary designers trying to one-up each other with stories of coding binges and caffeine-fueled all-nighters. War metaphors are common. Tales from the trenches is a ubiquitous expression, as are choruses of complaints that the outside world doesn't get it. One surefire way to annoy a game developer is to ask, in response to discovering his or her chosen career path, what it's like to spend all day playing video games. But even if you accept the premise that video game development is grueling work, it's not easy for those of us on the outside to see why. People have been making games since the 1970s, haven't they? With decades of lessons and experience to draw from, shouldn't game development have grown more efficient? Maybe it made sense for developers to crunch in the late 1980s, when gaming was the domain of teens and 20-somethings who gorged on pizza and Diet Coke as they coded all night and slept all day. But decades later, video games fuel a $30 billion industry in the United States alone. Why do game developers still have so many stories about staying at the office until 3 a.m.? Why is it still so difficult to make video games? To try to answer these questions, I went out and engaged in my favorite activity, bothering people who know way more than I do. I spoke to around 100 game developers and executives, both on and off the record, asking them an endless number of nosy questions about their lives, their jobs, and why they sacrifice so much to make video games. There are 10 chapters in this book, each telling the story behind how a different video game was made. One chapter visits Irvine, California, for a look at how the Kickstarter-funded Pillars of Eternity helped Obsidian Entertainment recover from its darkest days. Another chapter heads to Seattle, Washington, where the 20-something Eric Barone shut himself alone in a room for nearly 5 years to create a serene farming game called Stardew Valley. Other chapters tell stories about Dragon Age Inquisition's technological nightmare, Uncharted 4's brutal time crunch, and even the mystery behind LucasArts' much-hyped Star Wars 1313. As you listen, many of these stories may strike you as anomalous. Games that were hampered by drastic technology changes, directorial shifts, or other wild factors beyond the developer's control. It's tempting to think, while hearing these stories, that these games were all made under abnormal sets of circumstances. That these people were just unlucky. That the developers of these games might have averted hardship if they had followed industry standards and avoided common pitfalls, or if they had made smarter decisions from the get-go. Here's an alternative theory. Every single video game is made under abnormal circumstances. Video games straddle the border between art and technology in a way that was barely possible just a few decades ago. Combine technological shifts with the fact that a video game can be just about anything, from a two-dimensional iPhone puzzler to a massive open-world RPG with uber-realistic graphics, and it shouldn't be too shocking to discover that there are no uniform standards for how games are made. Lots of video games look the same, but no two video games are created the same way, which is a pattern you'll see throughout this book. But why is it so hard to make them? If, like me, you have never tried to develop a commercial video game before, you might find it helpful to review a few possible theories. 1. They're interactive. Video games don't move in a single linear direction. Unlike, say, a computer-generated Pixar movie, games run on real-time graphics, in which new images are generated by the computer every millisecond. Video games, unlike Toy Story, need to react to the player's actions. As you play a video game, your PC or console or phone or calculator renders characters and scenes on the fly based on your decisions. If you choose to walk into a room, the game needs to load up all the furniture. If you choose to save and quit, the game needs to store your data. If you choose to murder the helpful robot, the game needs to identify A, whether it's possible to kill the robot, B, whether you're powerful enough to kill the robot, and C, what kind of awful sounds the robot will make as you spill its metallic guts. Then the game might have to remember your actions, so other characters know that you're a heartless murderer and can say things like, "Hey, you're that heartless murderer!" 2. Technology is constantly changing. As computers evolve, which happens without fail every year, graphic processing gets more powerful. And as graphic processing gets more powerful, we expect prettier games. As Fergus Urquhart, the CEO of Obsidian, told me, we are on the absolute edge of technology.